In this tutorial, we're going to take a look at the invisible zipper foot, or sometimes called the concealed zipper foot. In front of us right here, we have the invisible zipper foot sitting next to the standard zipper foot. And we also have an invisible zipper. So let's take a closer look at a few of the things that are specific to the use of this foot. First, we'll take a look at the type of zipper. So this is an invisible zipper. You can see on the finished side of the zipper where the pull hangs, there are no coils or zipper teeth showing. All of that rolls under to the bottom side or the inside of the garment. So from the outside, once it's finished, you don't see any zipper teeth or zipper tape showing. You only see the pull, and the entire zipper is sandwiched underneath or in between the fabric and the lining. Now, if you notice the difference here, this is a standard zipper with the coils on the top side. So this is the type of zipper that you would put in with your standard zipper foot, and these teeth would show unless you're creating a lapped zipper where you have a flap of fabric that folds over the top of the zipper. But for the invisible zipper, you can see again, just in comparison, what you're looking for if you're buying an invisible zipper versus a standard zipper. And then here we have an example on the Starlight Gala dress of an invisible zipper installed. So you can see here, this was installed with a standard zipper foot. So we have an almost matching fabric seam, but you can see a few areas like right here at the waistline where the stitching's not quite close enough, so you can actually see part of that zipper tape. But for the majority of this, the fabric rolls together and the zipper is fully enclosed. And if we unzip that zipper, you can see that we have the zipper teeth on the inside, and the lining has been folded down over the zipper tape and hand stitched all the way down to cover the zipper. So then on the front side, when it's unzipped, you can see the teeth, and when we zip it, it pulls the fabric together and the zipper is hidden all the way except for the pull. And then we have the zipper foot itself. So you'll see here, this is for the Bernina machine, and some other machines, the foot will look slightly different on this front edge or from the top view. Some of those other ones are a little bit pointed, and some will attach just the base of the foot, not the entire base and shank together. So you want to look for the foot that goes with the model sewing machine that you have. Now on the underside of the invisible zipper foot, they will all look the same. They have two grooves and a bar that runs down the center, and this is to guide those teeth along the center of the foot so that the needle can sew right down in the center as close to that groove as possible. So it's holding the teeth open, and then it's able to stitch right down next to the teeth as close as possible, and this will bring the fabric as close together at that seam when the zipper is pulled closed all the way. So in comparison to a standard zipper foot, you'll notice that with the standard zipper foot, you're moving your needle to the right or to the left. It never sews down right into the center. So you're running this along the edge of your zipper teeth, and then your needle will go down to the right or down to the left, depending on the side that you're working on. Now, you can sew an invisible zipper with a zipper foot, and we've demonstrated that in many of our patterns and in the zipper foot tutorial. But you won't achieve a close enough stitch to really make that zipper as invisible as possible or totally concealed. So if you only have a standard zipper foot, that's fine. You can actually sew that. But if you're looking for the cleanest, best finish for an invisible zipper, you want to invest in an actual invisible zipper foot. To demonstrate, I'm going to use two pieces of fabric I have cut as rectangles, and we're going to work with these with a straight seam, and this can mimic a center back seam on pretty much any garment that you're working on. And then we have our invisible zipper. So to start, I'm going to take the invisible zipper and I'm going to unzip it, flip it over, take it over to my iron, and then carefully roll this open and press this so that the coils are pressed open a little bit more than how they come out of the package. Now I have my fabric ready. It is right side up, and then down the center here would be my center back seam, and I have my zipper. I'm going to put this right side to right side, and I'm starting with the side of the zipper where the tape will line up or go along the same line as my raw edge, and the coils are going to be away from the center back. So this is going to come down and be sewn right along my seam allowance marking. So you want to pay attention to the seam allowance marking that's on the center back. Sometimes it's 3/8, sometimes it's 1/2 inch. Just make sure that you have that marked, and you pin this according to where it goes. Now the reason for this is once it's sewn, it's going to be flipped over to zip. So the whole zipper will flip this way, and then the zipper will be hidden inside the seam. Now I'm going to go ahead and pin this, or I can use a double-sided quilter's tape, some sort of adhesive, like even a simple one pass on a glue stick to set the zipper in place. Now a glue stick or the double stick quilter's tape are great because you don't have to remove them as you sew like you do pins, so you really have a very accurate line for your zipper placement. Now we're at the machine, and I'm going to need to swap out my standard presser foot for my invisible zipper foot. So to do that, I need to remove my standard presser foot and then place the invisible zipper foot on the mount and push this clamp down, and I have my invisible zipper foot installed. Now you can see here I have my needle threaded and in there, and you can see that that is going to go down right in the center of that foot, and we have 2 little grooves right here that are to guide the teeth of the zipper coil depending on which side of the zipper you're working on. Now for this foot, once I have the needle threaded, the thread is up above this hole, so I'm simply going to lower that down a little bit and just catch that thread through the bottom, so that I have both threads coming out under the bottom of the foot. Now I'm going to take my fabric and my zipper, and I'm going to feed this through. So I'm working on the zipper with the coil over to the left, and I want to slide this in so that the coil is on the groove that's over to the left, so that my needle can stitch down just to the right of these teeth. Now to begin, I've actually increased my stitch length to a basting stitch, or number 5, just to make sure that it's set properly. I can come back in and secure it with a tighter stitch or a shorter stitch length when I'm sure it's placed in the exact right place. But this way, I'm basting it first to make sure it's where I want it. Now when you get down close to the base of the zipper, you're going to want to back stitch just to secure that base edge of the zipper stitching. So there you can see that stitching close. It's right next to the back side of the zipper coil. So when I flip this around, the coil is on the outside, but as I pull that zipper up, you can see that the fabric is going to roll right into this center seam of the back of the zipper. And then on the inside, that's creating this whole center back edge to fold in along that seam allowance marking line where we stitched down the zipper, but you can barely see that stitching. It's folded inside underneath the coils. Now we have the first side sewn, and what we need to do for the second side is either flip the zipper over and then go ahead and flip this side over so that we can sew this to the opposite opening, and then when it's folded under, it will zip properly. So it's slightly twisted at the base if you have this side of the dress, or back opening right side up. The other way that you could finish it without twisting the back is to flip the side that you have on top, rolling it back slightly so that the right side is up. The base of the zipper is not twisted, and then you can apply the other side of the zipper flat on the opposite side of the opening. Now, depending on the garment that you're working on, you might not be able to lay it in this manner. You might have to keep it like this, in which case this base, like I showed you, will be twisted as you sew down the opposite side of the zipper. Now when we bring the opposite side over to the machine, we are going to feed this through on the other groove. So this one's going to line up with the groove that's on the right side, and I'm going to set that in there. And then I will stitch down the center line on this side of the teeth. Now I have both sides of that invisible zipper sewn in. So you can see here, if I fold that open, you can see that the base of the zipper is actually twisted. So this is right side up, and these are folded right side up. But once I zip the zipper, it's going to pull that together. So I have here an invisible zipper. You can't see that zipper tape at all, but you can see the pull up here at the top. So if this is the back of your garment, this is the inside, and you have the base of the zipper right here that is free. And the center back below that is not sewn shut. So what we're gonna do is fold this right sides together, push this zipper tape out of the way, and the length that you've sewn to is just dependent on the design. So with an invisible zipper, you can sew down just as far as you need, and the excess on the base can be trimmed off, and you can easily sew in a satin stitch, zigzag stitch to create like a bar tack to create a base for that zipper to stop at. So for this part, we're going to pull this out of the way and then just continue to line up this center back seam. And then what we're going to need to do is stitch up the seam allowance line and then come in right here and just meet our stitching with this seam. And to do this right here, you're going to want to use your standard zipper foot to get as close as possible right here, because there's a pretty good lump right here from the coils that are inside there. So to get right up into that seam line and work out and meet that, you're going to want to have your standard zipper foot. So here I have this standard presser foot installed, and I'm going to sew this at a 1/2 inch to match my existing seam allowance. And you'll notice here, this is where I have the zipper tape pulled out of the way. Now I can get pretty close. I could come out around this, but it wouldn't line up with my seam exactly unless I switch out my foot to my standard zipper foot at this point. So I'm just going to raise this out, switch into the zipper foot, push the needle over so I'm as far over to the left on this side as the needle will go down. Then I'm going to slide this back in and line that up with my stitching. Do a quick back stitch. And then make sure I have this folded all the way out of the way. And I'm going to try to get in as close as I can. And then we have a seam that is sewn down through from the zipper to the base of the garment. And there we have that finished back seam all the way down to the bottom. So you can see as I pull this zipper open, it stops right here where the base seam begins, and I have a very clean opening. And you can see the zipper coils will fold underneath so that fabric meets right along that center back seam. And here's a closer look at a garment that has a bodice lining. So I have the lining folded up. My invisible zipper is installed, but as you can see, I have the stop about 1/4 inch down from that neckline seam. So the zipper was installed. I have that seam allowance pressed all the way through to the bodice so I can see where it will fold over. Then the zipper coils are going to turn to the inside. But to finish off this back side, we're going to fold this out of the way so that my neck seam can fold over it. And if you have a lot of excess, you can trim that off so there's less bulk right there. And then this part with the edge folded under is going to be tacked down along that same stitching line on the inside here. I'll tack that down all the way on the inside. And then once we zip that up, those coils will roll on top of that lining on the inside to zip all the way up at the top. And then if you also want to, you can add a little hook and eye at the inside of the neck opening to pull those together.